Hi, my name is Ben Symington. I am from Symlogia, a company that started just over a year ago at this point in time. I've been a partner in another IT company, XD Technology, for the past 15 years, of which I left for 2 years to Singapore and did global mining satellite systems and wide area communications and the security of their networks. I have been in the IT industry now a total of 19 years professionally and about 25 years on a professional and unprofessional basis. I have been looking at cheaper communications for the clients, better security for the clients, more honest integrity that you do not get from certain IT consultants. We find that the cost of the equipment that is used and the types of solutions that are designed around certain clients never meet their needs. They always fall flat in one area or multiple areas, be it exorbitant costs on communications, exorbitant costs on hardware, or the lack of cost, meaning that they have chosen to go with cheaper, lesser machines that do not fill the requirements of the job properly. Also, we find that reporting and transparency on the networks are normally a problem, and we aim to create transparency on the networks for our clients to be able to know better what their employees are doing on the network. So, for instance, one of the biggest money wasters in any business is how much time your employee is actually focused on your business. So with certain devices, you can give them certain times of access. You can secure guest access from the networks. You can create a more you can take a more holistic approach to IT. More holistic meaning a simpler, better, faster way of getting our clients to work within the network and outside of their network with as little problems as possible. Also focusing on the security side of things. We look at securing the networks internally, externally, making sure that all the data is safe, making sure that the clients have the best of both worlds, inside and out, best of both world protection inside and outside of the networks. As far as email etiquette goes from the employer side, email should always be kept forthright, forthcoming, and as transparent as possible for the recipient of the messages. In everyday, what is not acceptable for you as a home user, let's say, is transferable to the employee as well. As an employer, there are certain things that you don't do. You do not send out malicious mails. You do not send out spam. You do not send out anything as far as you can with viruses on it. You protect your organization against aggressive speech or hate speech, etc., etc. Now, what a lot of organizations don't know is that there are ways to curb this, and there are ways to filter this sort of information on your network that can prevent those sort of mails from going out of your network. Many people never advertise this fact. Email, from an employee point of view, what you don't want to do is you want to be very careful of what you say, of what you send. Everything that you do is recorded in one form or another, whether it be on the recipient side or on the side that you're working from. There are mail filters or mail archiving products out there that by law record every single email coming in and out of the organization for 10 years, untouchable. So that means for 10 years, whatever you've said digitally will follow you for 10 years, and it can be used against you should you have said something wrong at any stage. And it can be, the law officials can have access to it, should it be required. So one thing you want to do is be very careful of what you do in that regard. Protecting yourself as an employee is of vital importance. Email tracking. If you as an employee now, if you send out an email to one of your prospective clients and they phone you and say that they haven't got it, right? What kind of tracking can be placed on emails? Very varied information on this topic, all right? You've got a number of ways that you can track where the email goes from point A to point B. But you can never prove, once it gets to the recipient's network, that they have actually picked up that mail and read it. You cannot prove it. You can put on read receipts, but that is there's a very easy way to just say, no, don't send back a receipt. So you will never know that I've actually got that mail. Now, there are products out there that will prove that the mail actually got to the organization, but there is no proof that from the organization point of view that it got through to the recipient and the recipient actually read it. So there is no traceability from that point of view. Emails should be kept for at least 5 years at a minimum. Business-related mails should be kept for 10 years. So part of the Electronic Communications Act, you have to keep mail for, I always go for 10 years. It's the safest bet. It's very simple to keep mail. It does take a lot of space to keep mail for that period of time. What you would always do in this sort of, in this regard, what you would always do in this regard is have some sort of mail archiving procedure. Most people today rely, especially companies at least above 10, would rely on some sort of server, for instance, like Exchange or other types of servers. Now, what you can do, you can purchase a plugin into that server that automatically archives mail past a certain point of time, so that your mailbox doesn't grow too big, your upkeep on those databases don't become too much. The larger your database, your central databases, the more chance you have of data loss or corruption. And getting back from corruption on those databases becomes incredibly hard. So it's very good to have an archival policy. Most people do not need to see anything over past 2 years on a daily basis. So you could have your archival policy running every 2 years, accessible via an IT guy or one of your administrative staff that can read that mail at a later stage should it be necessary. Spam is very interesting. I've actually been dealing with spam, well, let's say email, almost since its inception. Spam was there was a very quick uptake on spam due to its reasonable hit rate, meaning you as a spammee would be interested in whatever the spammer has said and you click on it. You know? So the uptake of spam was very quick. In the late 90s, spam was absolutely prevalent. It still is today, but there's much better spam filtering. Now, spam comes in many forms, okay? Basically, what you get a normal spam mail with advertising or marketing, just generally pointing out something that people may be interested in. You know, that will obviously cause the recipient or the spammer to receive money from whatever you do. Now, you also get phishing spam mail. Now, phishing spam mail, we all know, comes from things like our banking accounts, people trying to get access to our banking accounts. Although that is technically a phishing mail and not really spam, it still forms under the spam family due to its nature and due to the amount of mails that are sent out. Now, in all the cases, the problem is on the company that is sending out those mails. Everybody wants to make money, and one of the easiest ways to make money is to catch other people out. So they create these spam messages in very clever ways that evolve all the time so that the mail will eventually start going through. Now, if you think about it, myself, let's say I'm a spammer now, and I've got a company and I've got one product to sell, and I have a database of 500,000 people. I can reach at least 1,000 people just with 2 clicks, click, click, and I have the possibility of 2,000 hits. For me, that is great, you know. So that's why spammers do it. It's purely marketing. Otherwise, there are more malicious attempts at spamming, but it's mostly marketing. Databases are very interesting, the way that they get it. Normally, there's a number of ways to get it, okay? You know these mails that float around where they'll say something like, support this cause, put your email address at the bottom of this and then send it to XYZ person. Okay, sure, in some cases it is malicious for that person. Their servers will be bombed. Everyone wants to win a Nokia phone or a car or whatever they've been fooled into winning. But in a much more clever way, you are sending all of those email addresses back to the spamming marketing companies. So they are gathering intel on legitimate, real addresses, because you won't lie about your email address because you want to win or you support XYZ cause. So that's one way of doing it. Another very clever way that they do it is, which is very simple, they sniff the networks. Okay, they use protocol analyzers to randomly sniff whatever traffic is passing the network. Now, within minutes, you get tons of information. You get many gigs of data passing through. All you have to do is just record all the information. Later on, just a clever little search for any addresses, email addresses that have passed over that network, and you have the addresses. That falls under unencrypted email. With places, again, moving on to Microsoft Exchange. If you use Microsoft Exchange, you've got certificates, you've got security on top of that. So all the information within the packet is hidden and secure from sniffers and protocol analyzers. That's two ways. There are actually quite a few ways, but those would be on the top of my list. The way I manage my account, like everyone else, I would have at one stage kept a simple inbox and items deleted, etc., etc. Now, what happens with that is you get all your mail flooding into one folder. Over the years, let's say you have 20,000, 50,000 mails running in your inbox, for instance, okay? That on a number of levels is just terrible. It's a bad idea. It makes your mailbox slower, it makes searching slower, it makes looking for something slower, etc., etc. The best way to manage a mailbox is to project manage your mailbox. Mostly well-educated, engineer-type people, logical thinking people. What you would do is you would create a number of subset folders, and as soon as a mail comes into your inbox, read that mail, file that mail, and use your inbox as a tool, more a task type tool. So anything that is not complete remains in your inbox until it's complete, and then it's filed away. What that does for you is it gives you a logical ordering that you know who your clients are. You know how you've categorized all your folders. You put all those emails into those folders. You know where to search for it. It makes your inbox a lot quicker. It makes starting up your email program a lot quicker, and it keeps your whole inbox uncluttered. And you'll find that even the jobs that you are doing, many of us are busy with multiple projects at one time. You'll find that you're able to, you know exactly where you are, what you're busy with, and you always follow up, and everyone else always thinks, wow, these guys are on top of things. But all it is simple mailbox management. Okay, the internet as a whole is a brilliant place. It is also an extremely dangerous place as far as data privacy goes. One thing you've got to always be vigilant about is that someone is always watching. Whatever you don't want someone to know, or whatever you wouldn't say to someone sitting right across from you, do not say it on the web. You know, if you go into a forum, anything that you digitize is there for life. So if you say to someone some ridiculous remark about some other person, you have literally set it for life, recorded for life. It'll follow you for life. If you post a picture, exactly the same sort of thing. Another point that you have to be aware of is that people from the outside are always trying to come into the inside for a number of reasons. Okay, now you might be thinking, why would they come to Joe Soap? I don't do anything important. I'm just the average user. You know, why would they want me? Okay, the simple answer to that is recruitment. You are a small part of a bigger picture. Okay, now most hackers, what they do, they use what we call zombie nets or botnets. where they will try and access your computer in one form or another. Yes, they will try and attack your computer, and they will try and get onto it for other malicious attempts, i.e. trying to gain access to your bank account details, or if you do have sensitive information on there, it's not like they're not going to look, they're going to look. So, but the bigger picture is they want your computer, they want to recruit your computer into becoming a large botnet. So your computer will join thousands around the world attacking one site. If one computer attacks one site or one organization, you've got a very small chance to break through their firewalls, to break through all their red tape to get to what you want. If you have thousands of computers, tens of thousands of computers around the world unknowingly doing this, you are going to save yourself a hell of a lot of time to get where you want to be. So that is one of the things that you want to watch out for. The way to watch out for it is your router, you need to have it secure. A lot of the routers that come out are insecure by default. They're starting to finally change this fact. About 2 years ago, I decided to test my hacking skills and chose a certain range of IPs. Out of, let's say, 100 of the IPs, I found about 20 live IPs. Out of the 10 live IPs, I tried to hack into each one. I was able to hack into 9 of them within less than a minute. The last one I didn't even bother because I'd already achieved a 90% success rate. Out of that 90%, I chose one and decided to see how far I could take it, and I was able to get into the person's network and see exactly what they have around. All it would have taken from that point forward is for me to change a few settings and advance what I wanted to whatever IP on the inside network was alive, and I would have been able to gain access to your information. A very simple way to do it. It does take know-how, but the most important part is that you need to have your router secure. So there's a number of ways to test it, but that'll be delving into a much deeper story. Now, another thing that you want to be careful of, or a way to protect yourself, is on your computer, you don't necessarily need to have a good firewall in your computer. You can use a Windows firewall, you can use the firewalls that come in with Linux. Apple is very locked down just from the way it works, so you don't have to worry about that. But have a firewall. It doesn't have to be a massively zone alarm type firewall or a Norton firewall. It can just be your standard operating system firewall. What you want on your computer, you've got to have antivirus protection, preferably paid for, but there are a couple of very good free ones. Second to that, running in conjunction with it, you need to have an anti-malware program running. Without those two running, I can guarantee, if I had to look at anyone's computers, in fact I did this yesterday, if I had to look at anyone's computer not running both simultaneously, I will find a number of security breaches on your computer. So you have to have something that specifically searches for malware, specifically searches for viruses. They overlap a little bit on each other, but they're very separate departments as far as malicious ware goes. So that's what you would want to do. Yes, how secure is online banking indeed? By far and large, it is secure. All right, now I'm going to give you an example of a client of mine a long time ago that was hacked and how they were hacked, and it's just one various method that these people use to gain access to your computers. Now, as far as my client's network goes, it was very secure. There was no holes through the security. It was a very good network. Everything was working fine. However, one of the people, one of the employees inside the network purchased he actually got a DVD, a pornography DVD that was put on the side of the road. The way these guys did it was they created small code, they uploaded the code into a video file, then they copied the video onto a DVD, then they put a sign out on the side of the road that said free porn with a whole bunch of DVDs. So of course a number of people had stopped and picked up these DVDs. And of course they go into the network, they play the movie, and they're nailed. Now, one question you would also ask now, let's say you are running an antivirus, you are running a malware detection program. Why didn't it pick it up? All right. The problem is that the code always changes, and unless it is prevalent code, it won't be found. So if you have some random Nigerian guy, for instance, that has created a piece of code that does something that none of the others do, that doesn't look suspicious, and it gets onto your computer, nothing's going to pick it up until that code becomes prevalent and found, and it'll get logged, and the antivirus producers, malicious producers will then be able to trace it and pick it up. So in this case, that's exactly what happened. So these guys bought in the movie, played it on their laptop, went to work the next day. This program launched, did a search within the network, and found this lady's computer. It uploaded itself to the computer and found. Then it started registering all her key clicks, and they found within a couple of days after that, 100,000 Rand had been drawn out the account randomly. And I went in, Standard Bank went in. We both searched on the computers, could find nothing. We were convinced that she must have just opened herself up some other way. The forensics department of the bank came in as well. We could find nothing. A week after that, 50,000 Rand went out of that bank account. And from that point, we had to reinstall every single computer. We then found the culprit, we found out what they did, and we found that that was their way into the network. So, that said, it is extremely easy to get into a network in various methods. Now, although that does happen, it is by far and large a very minuscule, there's a very minuscule amount of times that sort of thing happens. Normally your attack will be digitally over the air, somehow, so through the internet. Now, what you have to do, the best way is to make sure that you're as safe as you can be. Put on an antivirus, put on a malicious anti-malware program, and I can mention a very good one called Malware Bytes. Relatively inexpensive, costs I think 230, 240 Rand. Exceptional at what it does. It will protect you as far as key loggers, click loggers, recorders, camera software, etc. goes, and it will allow you to do banking safely. But further to that, a very important part that you need to watch out for, on your internet browser, you need to look at the very first 4 to 5 letters that it says on your browser. It'll always start with HTTP or HTTPS. Now, it must say, if you're doing anything sensitive, it must say HTTPS. If it doesn't do it, don't give away any of your details, nothing. Don't give away your email address, don't give away nothing, because the second you visit a site that says HTTP, it means that it's unencrypted. When they put an S on it, it means that you are encrypted via a certificate. Now, there is another way to check that you are in the correct place. If you look, you'll always see a little lock of some sort in Mozilla, Safari, Internet Explorer, etc. You click on that lock, you click View Certificate, it'll always tell you, and this part cannot be hacked, it cannot be changed. It will tell you what the name of the company that you think you're going to. So if you're going to, for instance, Standard Bank, it has to say issued to Standard Bank. If it does not say that, you're in the wrong place and you do not want to put any of your details down. The topic of social networking and protecting your loved ones within the home and protecting the business from its employees. Okay, let's start with businesses. Social networking should be allowed, okay, but when should it be allowed? That is the key. Now, if a lot of people don't have the discipline to, let's say the employee says, okay, between 1 and 2 o'clock, that's your lunch hour, you're allowed to go onto Facebook, take a look at whatever, go wild. You know, that's great, but people don't have the discipline to do it between those times. They will sit and abuse it the whole day. If you give them 1 hour, they're going to take the entire day. Now, think about that across your broad spectrum. You have a very large loss on productivity from your employee. Now, and not just Facebook, that's also following things like YouTube or even private mail. Private mail is a big money waster as far as the local employees go. You'll always find they've got a website open that is sitting monitoring their Gmail or their Outlook.com or whatever it is, but it's always monitoring it, and as soon as they see they hear a little ding, you know, their focus is shifted away from that into their private mail system. You also find radio stations, a large one that impacts the company negative in a number of ways. First of all, your bandwidth is thrown right out of the door from radio stations being listened to online all the time, and the users, again, their attention is diverted all the time to what's going on the radio. Yes, some people say they can multitask and etc. I don't believe it. If you've got music lightly playing in the background somewhere, I think that's a lot better. Why would you, first of all, want to listen on a very tiny little laptop speakers, for instance? It's just a horrible way to do it. Now, for the employer, that is a serious loss on revenue. The amount of man hours that is lost from that sort of thing is massive. The way to curb that in a business point of view is use what we call a UTM. That is a Universal Threat Management Device. Okay, now what that does, A, it is an excellent firewall. Excellent firewall, okay? B, it allows transparency on your network, all right? So your IT professionals will be able to manage the network a lot easier because they can see what is abusing the system or who is abusing the system, internally and externally. But thirdly, one of the best parts about it is on UTMs, you get your filtering. So you get your antivirus filtering, you get your spam filtering, and of course the best part about it, you get your web filtering. Now on all of these devices, you can create users, you create your groups of users, and then you create your restrictions per group or per users, which means you can take your engineering department, and engineers, they need to be able to search for a new product. They need to be to see what the other engineers around the world are doing, what the latest trends are in the marketplace, etc., etc. And it's information that they need in order to keep the business healthy and at the forefront of the technology from whatever they're doing. Now, you could take the engineering department and give them full access with limited restrictions. So, i.e. no pornography. YouTube, for instance, you could ban specifically just that for the engineering department. Then you could take the admin department. Admin department does not need to refer to the web to look for new products or to be on the forefront or the cutting edge of technology. So the admin department, you can say, right, you're restricted the whole day. You're allowed to look at no internet at all, except between 1 and 2 o'clock. Then you can go wild for an hour. Lunchtime, you can do whatever you like, and then it's off again. And then when it come hoppers 5, 6 o'clock, you're allowed on again. So should you wish to work late, you can abuse it a bit because it's not impacting business hours as such. Then you can take it even another step further from that point. You could have time schedules across the board for the entire company, all sorts of policies put in place. You can have logins that force a user to agree to a certain set of terms and conditions, which is a very good idea for a corporate, because if you do not have an Electronic Communications Act, a best policy, internet usage policy, you cannot fight your employee. You cannot spy on them. You can, but you can't do anything about it. You cannot take them to court. You just have to sit back and watch your money being wasted through man hours. That's it. So you have to have a proper policy put in place for your internet usage, for your communications. The same goes for wasting the company's email space, bandwidth, time spent looking at all this rubbish that would come in. For instance, the jokes that would come in and videos that would come in over a 10 meg line, over a 10 meg file that would take a long time to get in. That one user would take that 10 meg file, watch it for, let's say it's a 2-minute video, and then forward that same mail onto 20 of their buddies or work colleagues that they're friends with. That then it just multiplies across the board, and eventually your line is saturated, your users' time has been wasted, etc., etc. But again, if you don't have the correct policy put in place that a user has signed or agreed to, you can do nothing about it. So, but what I would do, and now a UTM could effectively search through those sort of mails, and it could block those keywords in mails. It can block certain types of mails from coming in and going out of the system from certain departments as well. What you looking at a home front, what you also want to do, of course you've got kids. The internet, although it is a great place, all your kids are going to want to research on the net at one stage or another, and my son is 7 years old and it is already happening. So now it's easy to take care of because he's too young, the children are too young, I think probably until about 9, but there are obviously some very clever kids out there, but let's say 9, you can monitor it very easily. It's not that they want to be malicious, it's just that with one incorrect word put into a search engine will lead you to a lot of what you do not want to expose your child to. And of course, when it gets older, the child will start looking more into Facebook, more into all your social networking type sites. They will also try and, in worst case scenarios, begin experimenting, searching for things that they shouldn't be searching for at whatever age you deem is the incorrect age for that sort of thing. Or going on to things like Mixit, which we all know it is nice to have, but it is also a very bad place to be. Now, you could buy something, a device that I like putting in homes is called Genie. You do get other types of devices. Essentially, they do the same type of thing, but I find that Genie is just a great device. For home users, you don't have to be very specific. So for instance, you've got mom, you've got dad, you've got Bob and Mary. Okay, Bob and Mary, of course, are the children. Now, Bob is 7, Mary is 15, okay? Mary should be allowed a lot more access to the web than Bob. Bob should have very restricted access onto the web and monitored access onto the web, while mom and dad should have, for instance, full access onto the web. Now, if you do buy a device, you need to make sure that the device can A, separate the users one from each other, so you are able to define mom, dad, Bob, Mary from each other. B, you're able to place different restrictions on each user. C, you are able to, a further step, you're able to schedule the time of when each user is allowed to be on the net. And that includes this type of device that's in front of your internet router. So even if you take a phone and the child puts their phone onto your network, they will always be stopped by by your firewall device or your Genie, for instance. So they can't even do what they want to do on their phone. So you can restrict Mixit, you can restrict Facebook, YouTube, hate speech, aggression sites, chemical sites, etc., etc. What I would do as well is, or what I would look for is a device that can give you reporting as well. It's all good to have all this, but if you're not there during the day, you need to have a report and you need to keep an eye on the kids and see what they're doing just to make sure that everything's okay. Because kids won't always tell you that. Okay, talking about the NSA and how they have access to our data, etc., etc. It's kind of a love-hate relationship, really, all right? Yes, they have access to your data. Looking at South Africa specifically, if you have your data kept outside of South Africa, you have literally no control over it. No matter what the website says, they are allowed to give the information to their respective authorities. So within South Africa, for the time being, we're very safe. We don't have those sort of rules governing us. So if your data is kept within the borders of our country, your data is effectively safe unless there is a massive uproar from a very large country that absolutely refuses to not have access to your information. Then it could possibly be granted. Now, where is your information? What information is being kept off-site? Very simply, Google, Google Drive, your iCloud, your SkyDrive, if you're going with a hosted mail provider that sits outside the border, for instance, Microsoft Exchange hosted, that sort of thing, you have literally no control over it. If the government of whichever country wants access to that mail or to that data because they suspect you of something even vaguely close to what they are investigating, they will have it. So, yes, how much do you keep outside? How much do you keep inside? If you want to go cloud, you're almost certainly going to be going outside of the borders. If you have a lot of money, you can go into what they call private cloud. Now, private cloud isn't just a corporate local cloud that isn't accessible via the outside. You can also have a private cloud in the public cloud. What that is it's a very tightly closed network that is accessible via VPN. So effectively, it makes it what we call a private cloud. You could have it on a private cloud hosted in one of the larger ISPs here in South Africa. That would then make sure that your data is safe and no one else can view it. If you are paranoid about what you're doing, however, you absolutely cannot go in the cloud. Your data will be open to someone at some time, somewhere. Yeah. Thank you for listening to this program. I hope you've enjoyed it. A couple of key things to take away from this. Be careful of what you're doing. Be careful, always be aware of what you're doing. Be aware that the company that you're at is most likely watching you. Be careful of what you sign, and make sure that the proper protection is on your computer before you do anything, anything sensitive, that is. Make sure that you understand what you're going into and how you're going into it. For instance, always be vigilant about encryption, especially when it comes to banking or anything sensitive. Be vigilant about encryption. Thank you very much.